The Zambezi River, ancient, powerful, a silver serpent winding through the heart of Africa. It whispers stories of life, death, and the spirits that dwell within. This is one such story, a tale passed down through generations. The legend of Nyami, the guardian spirit of the Zambezi. The Zambezi, the elder explains, was once a raging torrent. It flooded the land, it destroyed homes, people lived in fear. They prayed for a protector. One day, a powerful spirit emerged from the depths. Nyami. Nyami was a fearsome sight. He had the body of a serpent. His scales shimmered like 1,000 sunsets. His eyes glowed with ancient wisdom. But Nyami was not a creature of destruction. He was a guardian. He calmed the river's fury. He taught the people how to live in harmony with nature. He showed them how to fish its waters, how to cultivate the land along its banks. Under Nyami's watchful eye, the people prospered. Generations passed. The people thrived. They built villages along the riverbanks. They sang songs of praise to Nyami. They offered him gifts of thanks. Nyami in turn continued to protect them. He ensured the river remained a source of life. Nyami was not just a protector, he was a teacher. He taught the people the importance of balance, the delicate equilibrium between humanity and nature. He warned them against greed, against taking more than they needed. He told them, the river is a gift. It provides for us, but we must respect it. We must not take it for granted. The people listened. They understood the wisdom in his words. They lived in harmony with the river. They took only what they needed. They held festivals in Nyami's honor. They danced and sang. They offered him gifts of fish and grain. They thanked him for his protection. They knew their prosperity depended on his continued goodwill. Nyami, pleased with their devotion, continued to watch over them. He ensured the rains came on time. He kept the river flowing. He protected them from harm. He was their guardian, their protector, their link to the spiritual world. One day, a terrible drought struck the land. The sun beat down mercilessly. The earth cracked and dried. The crops withered and died. The people were desperate. They turned to Nyami for help. They gathered on the riverbank. They pleaded with him to save them. They offered him their most prized possessions. They sang songs of supplication. They danced until their feet bled. Nyami heard their prayers. He felt their desperation. He knew he had to help. He rose from the depths of the river. His eyes glowed with a strange light. He spoke to the people. His voice echoed across the parched land. He told them of a hidden spring, a spring untouched by the drought. He led them to it. He saved them. Years passed and the memory of the drought faded. A new generation arose, one that had not known hardship. They forgot the lessons of the past. They became greedy, taking more from the river than they needed. They overfished its waters, cut down the trees along its banks, and polluted the river with their waste. Nyami watched, deeply disappointed by the greed consuming them and the disrespect they showed to the river. He tried to warn them with signs. The river ran low, the fish became scarce, but alas, the people ignored him. Blinded by their greed, they had forgotten their promise. Nyami's heart grew heavy. He had given them everything, protected them, and taught them, yet they betrayed him. Deciding to teach them a lesson they would never forget, Nyami unleashed his fury. The once calm and life-giving river transformed into a raging torrent, flooding the land, destroying homes and crops. Terrified, the people realized their mistake. They had angered Nyami. They begged for his forgiveness, offered him sacrifices, and sang songs of repentance. But Nyami remained unmoved. He had shown them mercy before, saved them from the drought, but they had not learned their lesson. They had broken their promise, and now they would face the consequences. The elder pauses, the fire crackles, and the people are silent, almost hearing the roar of the river, feeling the desperation of their ancestors. The elder continues. The people were desperate, knowing only one thing could appease Nyami. A sacrifice, not of animals or possessions, but of something far more precious, a human life. The chieftain's daughter, known for her courage and kindness, loved the river as much as Nyami did. She volunteered to be the sacrifice. The people watched in horror as she was cast into the raging waters. The river swallowed her whole. There was a moment of silence. Then the river calmed, the storm subsided. Nyami had accepted their sacrifice. Slowly, the river returned to normal. The floodwaters receded. The sun peeked through the clouds. Nyami emerged from the depths. His eyes, however, were filled with sadness. He had punished the people, but he felt no joy in it. He had learned a harsh truth. Humans were fickle. They were easily swayed by greed. He could not force them to respect the river. He could only hope they would learn from their mistakes. He spoke to the people one last time. He reminded them of their promise. He told them that he would always be watching. He would always be the guardian of the Zambezi, but he would no longer interfere in their affairs. He then retreated into the depths of the river. He vanished from sight. The people were left to rebuild their lives. They carried the memory of Nyami's wrath. They knew they had been taught a harsh lesson. The people rebuilt their homes, they replanted their crops, they vowed to honor their promise to Nyami. They taught their children the importance of respecting the river. They passed down the legend of Nyami's wrath. The story served as a reminder of the delicate balance between humanity and nature, a reminder that greed and disrespect have consequences. The people learned to live in harmony with the river once more. They understood that their survival depended on it. They never forgot the sacrifice of the chieftain's daughter. They honored her memory. They saw her as a symbol of their own folly and of the price they had paid for their greed. They knew that Nyami was still out there, watching, waiting. They knew that he would always be the guardian of the Zambezi. The elder falls silent. The fire has burned low. The first rays of dawn touch the horizon. The people are quiet. They ponder the story they have just heard, the legend of Nyami. The story is more than just a myth. It is a cautionary tale. It speaks to the human capacity for both good and evil. It highlights the importance of respecting nature. It reminds us that our actions have consequences. The story of Nyami is a universal one. It resonates with people all over the world. It speaks to our deep-seated connection to the natural world. It reminds us that we are not masters of this planet. We are merely caretakers. And like all good stories, it stays with us long after we've heard it. It makes us think. It makes us question. It makes us wonder. The Zambezi still flows. It still whispers its stories. Stories of Nyami. Stories of the people who live along its banks. Stories of the delicate balance between humanity and nature. As you stand on the banks of this mighty river, as you listen to its ancient song, remember the legend of Nyami. Remember the lessons it teaches, for Nyami is more than just a mythical creature. He is a symbol of the spirit that lives within us all, the spirit that connects us to nature, the spirit that reminds us to respect our planet, the spirit that whispers to us to listen.